So, this one's going to be about something. It might be about optimism. It might be also about a book summary. Because I'm just looking up a few things that I could be talking about and those things. And I'm going to decide in action, basically, or while I'm recording the episode. But there's just always going to be more after the intro. And with that being said, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And I am just really happy to be here. I do just have to set up my blankets so that there's not too much echo here, which is actually something that I should be doing before I'm starting to record the episode, but it is quite fine like this as well. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing quite well. My throat is a little bit sore, but it is what it is, It is what it is, but something that I'm seeing, which is like something that not everyone's gonna suggest you, and I'm also not suggesting it, and I'm also not advising you to do so. But often when I'm kind of feeling like a little bit, I don't want to say ill, but I kind of just, there's something going on, I know that something is going on, and I know that something isn't as right as it could be. And then when I'm doing some sports, just a regular workout, I do not even just wanna push it to like, okay, you just have to have a shorter one. It shouldn't be too long. It shouldn't be too exhausting. It shouldn't be whatever. I'm then having a quite regular workout. And then it just really works fine for me in terms of actually feeling better afterwards or feeling more healthy. The thing is, as I'm just thinking about it, and as we have been talking about the placebo effect like 2 days ago, or maybe it has been yesterday, it also depends because like I'm always recording an episode for the next day, and therefore there's just some sort of a switch there or some sort of a delay there in terms of what I remember and what you probably are remembering. The thing is, the placebo effect is only working for pain, and which means that by thinking that something is working or by thinking that this certain pill is working, it's going to be about pain. It's going to be about, okay, I'm not going to feel the pain just because I believe that this pill that I just took is for my pain or is basically against my pain. Is it kind of how you're saying this in English? Because I don't fucking know. I really don't, but I think it could also be the case with working out just the exact same way, which means that if I'm working out, then I just might not feel the pain, which doesn't really have anything to do with being healthier or curing myself, because it might just also be the case that I'm not really curing myself and that it is actually not really good for the whole curing process, which is the exact same thing with the placebos as well. That when you're taking some placebos, it is about the pain then, it is doing something against the pain then, and it is not about like curing yourself, even though, as I've also been talking about it in the episode, and I might be linking it down in the description, but I'm not quite sure about that. I'm probably gonna forget about it, it is always what it is. I'm actually really sorry about that, because I'm often talking about some things that I might be linking down that actually are really important though, and I'm often forgetting about it, which is like a little bit fucked up then. But in terms of the placebo now, if you're taking some placebos, then it's not gonna cure you. But still, I believe that it might be curing you just because you think that it is curing you because you don't have the pain any longer. And it is like, yeah, it is strange, And still, we haven't really 100% found out how the placebo is working and or just all different aspects of the placebo, whether it is just working or not, how it is working or not, in which circumstances it is working, and all those things. Like, there's a bunch of questions that we are still asking ourselves and which haven't actually been answered up to this point, as I've been going through just some articles from Harvard and whatnot. But let's actually head into optimism, I guess. Optimism is actually one of the things that I really believe can really improve just people's lives, just because being optimistic is important. Because I'm always thinking about, if you're just really negative and if you're really just pessimistic, then of course your life is not going to be as good as from somebody that is optimistic. And I would actually argue that it is because when you're optimistic, then you're probably going to focus on the good things in life. You're probably going to just look forward to the things and look into the future, and you're not going to be just mad at anything. You're not going to be just unhappy that something is a certain way because you think that in the future it's just going to be better anyway, because you know that you're an optimist. Of course, there's now going to be just 100 million different explanations for what an optimist actually is. But for me, an optimist is somebody that is looking forward into the future, and he or she is seeing good, and also just maybe even expecting good. I think it also depends. Like, these are two just very different words, and the words are indeed really strong. And I do sometimes, which is a quite a funny thing to really be honest, just because I am working about, I'm just talking about words, that I do kind of feel like that it is often the case that words do just matter a lot, and I still often give a fuck about them. I still often think like, well, it doesn't really matter which word that I'm using. But the thing is, using the right terms, using the right termini, if it is actually kind of something that you can be saying, I don't fucking know, it's probably going to be Latin. I think it's really important. It is also just a way to just make communicating a little bit easier for both sides, actually. Because if both know the codes, if both know both just terminis actually, or terms, whatever, then it's really easy. Instead of describing things or just using other synonyms that the other won't know, and then all those things. Like, it's truly one thing to maximize the amount of maximize the speed maybe of the communication and the ability to understand the other person in the fastest way. But optimism is important because when you're focusing on the bad stuff, when you're focusing on everything that is bad, and there is a lot of bad things. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat anyone's life. I'm not going to sugarcoat anyone, indeed. I do also understand that people that are realists. I still believe that I'm really optimistic, just in general, which also, on the other hand, seems to be the case for like the majority of the people. I've been just seeing, as I was in the train and looking up new things that I could be talking about, I've been actually seeing an article on optimism and therefore also a study, and it's been like, okay, 60 to 80% are optimists. Something like that. Like, of course, it also depends on your circumstances, which is something that they have been talking about as well. And it also depends on your upbringing and also the area you're living in and whatnot. Like, there's just a lot of factors that do contribute to your optimism and or to your pessimism, which is something that's also pretty interesting, to be honest. That it is so just deeply or just heavily correlated to your upbringings and your motherhood and all those things. But still, coming back to the initial point, if you're just only focusing on what is bad, and when you're only seeing what is bad, of course you're gonna feel bad. And of course you're also gonna just be in a bad mood because you're only seeing the bad. Which might be like about pessimism, which might also not be about pessimism. I kind of feel like it is pessimistic when you're only seeing the bad things and basically neglecting the good things, because you're only seeing the bad things because you are a pessimist, because you focus on the bad things. But on the other hand, if you're a positive person and an optimistic person, and you're basically only focusing on whatever is good, on whatever is just well-doing and whatnot, then it's going to be something good. It's going to be something good because you're never ever somehow going to be in a bad mood just because you're not seeing the bad things or you're not seeing the negative things, because through just only focusing on the good things, you're just not gonna see the bad things. It's the exact same thing as if I would be saying, like, just focus on something that's red. And if you're focusing on something that's red, you're probably not gonna be able to see something that's blue, just because you're focused on something that is red, which is like an example by Tony Robbins, and he's really often doing that to just show the power of focus, the power of focusing on things, focusing on therefore actually objects. But I would also argue that it has something to do with focusing on feelings as well, and focusing on circumstances or certain factors of circumstances or situations or scenarios. On the other hand, I do just really want to point out that there is a maybe truly fine line between being delusional and being an optimistic. If you're delusional and you kind of feel like that everyone's or everything is going to be really good and everything is totally going to be fine, no matter what you're doing, no matter how less you're also doing, then it's probably not going to be the thing, It's probably not going to be right. It's probably not going to be what it really is, what the reality really is. So therefore, it's like pretty difficult, I would say, are you delusional or are you optimistic? Are you a pessimist or are you just like maybe even depressed? And all those things, like, it truly is a fine line. It truly is a fine line between just optimism and delusion and maybe depression and being pessimistic, which does somehow maybe say that being a realist and seeing how the world really is maybe is is maybe like the best thing. Even though I wouldn't actually say that, like by going through it, by just having the facts, by just having a look at what you're having or what we are having, you can basically say, yeah, okay, it is actually the case. It is actually the case that being a realist just must be the thing to go with, or must be the thing to do. But I wouldn't necessarily say so, actually. I really wouldn't necessarily say so, because not necessarily because reality is often bad, and it also depends on where you're living, of course, But like, it is difficult to say. It really is difficult to say, because what is reality? Reality is something that's completely different for everyone, because we're all seeing different things. Maybe just because we all are so subjective, and not really objective. Maybe just being realistic isn't something that's working, because I don't know, like there's always a way how we can respond to the things that are affecting us or seemingly affecting us. And of course, you can respond by being angry. You can respond by being happy. You can respond by just being in some sort of a neutral space. Like, you have the options, basically. Of course, it's going to evolve some practice and also some work and whatnot to being able to just control yourself in such a way and whatnot. But in the end, you're able to do so. In the end, it is something that you truly can be doing. So maybe try to be optimistic. I do believe that it is not going to be something really easy for all those people that are maybe realists and maybe pessimists, but I think it's going to pay off in the end. I think it's going to be something that's pretty good in the end. And I do think that there's just some way to just work around that by maybe just seeing how you're responding to things. If you're just seeing something and you kind of feel like, well, everything is going to be bad and everything's going to be fucked up and whatnot, then of course, maybe not. Maybe not, because you don't actually know. And now as I'm thinking about it, like, often we actually have a choice of how we're going to feel about things. Whether we're going to feel about it in a negative way or we're going to feel about it in a positive way. Because if I kind of feel like, well, this is going to be bad or this is going to be really good, I don't know, because it is in the future and I'm not a fucking fortune teller or Nostradamus or whatever. I don't know. Therefore, you could actually choose. Of course, like, if you're just really positive and really optimistic and maybe delusional as well, and you're only seeing the good and whatnot, and you're expecting good, of course, it's gonna hurt if you're not right. And of course, it's gonna hurt if it is actually then not the case that whatever you're just thinking about or whatever you're talking about is gonna be the case as you thought about it or as you just hoped for it as well. But yeah. Let's actually go through some Reddit questions, I guess. I think it is actually a pretty good way to maybe solve and or talk about a lot of things that might be affecting you as well, or might also be affecting me as well, to just basically provide as much value as I possibly can, I guess. I think it is a really good way. So let's actually have a look. The only problem there sometimes is that there's often like the same questions, which might just assume that a lot of people are thinking about the exact same things. Maybe in different ways, and maybe in just really personalized ways, of course, which lets them think like, okay, this is my problem. My problem, it is not a problem that everyone else can just have and whatnot, but it is not the case. Like, often there is some principles, some underlying principles that do just can be applicated. Is it like just the word? Because I don't know. Applicated to just a lot of different things, there's a bunch of things. So let's have a look at the first question. As you can see, I've somehow changed the perspective because I think it might be cooler in such a way. It might be better in such a way. It might be more pleasant for the eye in such a way, and more convenient for you as well to just read along and whatnot. But yeah, your life could end today. Instead of rushing, slow down and enjoy. I do understand where this is going, and I do understand that it is something that a lot of people like, as you can see by the likes, and yeah, but it could end, and it's probably not gonna end. Chances are really high that you're gonna just stay alive till tomorrow, but of course it can be the case, and of course then it would have been nice to just slow down and enjoy your life and all those things, but slowing down for me suggests that you're basically doing nothing, which might also be wrong thinking, I guess, because it doesn't really he and or she doesn't really say that, Of course, like there's going to be a little bit more context if I'm clicking on it and I'm reading the whole one, but I don't really think that it is all about just doing nothing. I guess it's rather about just doing what you actually like to be doing. And I know that such a lot of people are not doing what they don't like. And I don't know why. Just also in terms of the school that you're just in, if it is a school and you really hate it, just take another one, try another one. And it's probably not fitting you. And of course, if you do just not like the school, just maybe because of people, maybe because of the subjects that you're having, maybe just it is a university and you do not really like the university because of just whatever you're studying, take something else or go work, do something else, just try out it, The thing is, like, we will never know what we actually like if we haven't tried out quite some things, because it's also the exact same thing with food. If I don't try the schnitzel, if you know what it is, write it down in the comments, would actually be nice. If you try the schnitzel and you kind of feel like, well, this schnitzel is pretty good, then it is pretty good. And you now know that you like it. But if you don't ever try the fucking schnitzel, then you will never ever know whether you like it or not. Of course, you can assume, okay, there is some meat in it, and I do not really like meat in general. Therefore, I just probably not going to like the schnitzel as well. Which you can assume, like, it totally makes sense and it totally is applicable and whatnot. But really, not really, I would say. Like, try it out, see if it is working or not. But it's definitely not going to be about just doing nothing, I guess. And if it is just about doing nothing, then I have to say no. Because, like, if you're always feeling like, okay, this is going to be the last day. This is going to be the last day of your living. And you're basically doing nothing because of that. I don't know if this is going to lead to a lot of happiness. If you're doing nothing all day long. Unless it is actually something that makes you happy. But, like, I'm repeating myself. Let's go for the next one. I'm fat and sad. Let's actually have a look. I want to read this. So I'm overweight. That's always just been me. I was okay with all these years because I still was healthy, very able and active, and I am now 32 and just feeling depressed. I've had the mindset to get back to the gym or something, and it's just hard. Today I slept in until 2 p.m. and I had a sugary drink and chips for lunch. I'm so loving and able to take care of others surprisingly well, but I'm just not able to take care of myself. It's like I hate myself that much, just sucks. Which is actually the case for, like, all the people. We all are more able to help other people than we are to help ourselves, which is something that is fucked up, which is something that is interesting, which is something that is totally just not good. Something that I've been picking up over the years is helping yourself as if you would be helping somebody else, and caring about yourself as if you would be caring about somebody else. And having this mindset and just thinking about that, because it does change things, or it actually could change things. Because if you know that you're a good helper or you can help other people really good, it's a simple concept, once again, but it is not a really easy concept. But I would say if it is about being overweight, like, if you're consuming less than you actually need, then you're gonna lose weight. And that's quite it. Like, there's no kind of magic pill that you should be taking, and there's also no just protein drink that's gonna make you just be skinny in a day or something. It is hard work. It is also some work to put on the whole mass. For some people, some people with diseases and some people that are having some issues with their body, they are not able to gain any weight. It is what it is. It is also something pretty difficult for me. Maybe it's just because of metabolism. Maybe it's just because of something else. I don't fucking know. But I'm not getting anything. Which is something bad on the other hand as well. For also, or especially those people that are trying to just build some muscle, just gain some weight just because they feel too skinny. And all those things. Like, there's always going to be a bad side and there's always going to be a good side, I guess. Besides maybe healthy eating. I don't know if there's a bad side of healthy eating. I kind of don't assume, but I'm not quite sure about that. So if you're overweight and you feel like that you just want to lose some weight and you are actually overweight and you do not really feel good about yourself, just lose weight. The just is a little bit arrogant maybe, and it is like a little bit like, okay, just do it, it is really easy. It is not easy, but it is simple. Once again, the whole concept is simple. You're just not eating as much as you're doing at this point in time. You're not eating as much as your body is in need of. Which might be like I don't know, 2,000 calories. If you're eating 1,000 calories, you're gonna fucking lose weight. And a good way to do that is by just doing a lot of sports, because sports lets you burn a lot of calories, which makes everything a little bit easier, because then you're not going to be able to just eat that again, Just doing an hour of sports, which is probably going to burn like, let's say 500 calories or something. It depends on whatever you're doing, of course. And like eating 500 calories is really easy, but not if you have already been eating quite a bunch of things, if you know what I'm referring to, if you know what I'm just heading towards, basically. So it's all about just not eating as much as you need, or as your body seems to be in need of, actually. But yeah, I guess this is actually going to be the end of the episode. I think it's been a good episode. I think it's been like a really just okay one, I guess. I hope that you've liked it, and I hope that you've been able to just gain something out of this episode. But yeah, I wish you the best health, of happiness, and also success. And I also hope that you're going to remind yourself on how you're going to be remembered, which basically means your legacy. 3 other questions that I'm having for you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? These 3 questions are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea, because a lot of companies started out with solving something that really pissed them off in the first place. Just because there's probably going to be something that really pisses you off as well. But yeah, I'm going to see you the next time. I at least hope.